Welcome back. In the last couple of lessons, we've been talking about divine providence. And when we were talking about the exercise of His providence through secondary causes, we spoke in particular about the rational creature in the visible universe, which is man. That man, who has qualities that are like God's own attributes, that we have intellect and we have free will, that God exercises His providence in a secondary way, preeminently through that creature. But there's another creature that has an intellect, though a creature that is invisible. And we call those creatures angels. Let me call your attention to the Catechism 326. The scriptural expression heaven and earth, when we say that God is creator of heaven and earth, means all that exists, creation in its entirety. It also indicates the bond deep within creation that both unites heaven and earth and distinguishes the one from the other. The earth is the world of men, while heaven, or the heavens, can designate both the firmament and God's own place, our Father in heaven, and consequently the heaven too, which is eschatological glory. Finally, heaven refers to the saints and to the place of the spiritual creatures, the angels who surround God. Now what this means is that when we say that God is creator of the heavens and the earth, or heaven and earth, that we don't just mean the earth where we dwell and outer space or something, the universe. So we do mean, of course, that as well, the totality of the visible universe. But we also mean by heaven that place that is where God, so to speak, where God dwells, which is the goal of those who are to be united with God at the end of their earthly lives, the place where the angels attend God. And so we refer to, by the term heaven, we refer both to a physical reality, but also a spiritual and an invisible reality. And the creatures that occupy, as it were, that invisible reality, we call angels. Okay, now, when we think of angels, oftentimes we think of beings with, like bird wings, okay, human beings with bird wings. And, that's a way that angels have been depicted in storybooks and even in great art, in particular in great art. But properly understood, angels don't have any appearance. And when they do appear to human beings, it seems that they don't look sort of benign in a way, because the first thing that seems that they always say to a human being when they appear is, "Be not afraid, don't be afraid." And so the idea that they just sort of look like, human beings with white robes and big, huge white wings is misleading, even though it's a way somehow to depict that they are of heavenly origin. All right, so angels are creatures, they're actually pure intellects that are invisible. They're the part of God's invisible creation. Now, this is something that the Catechism states very plainly is a truth of the faith, meaning belief in angels is not sort of an option for Christians, that the Church has always declared has held to the existence of angels, and that's also the witness of Scripture itself. And in fact, Scripture is unintelligible if we try to dismiss references to angels. Well, what are angels? Well, the term itself comes from the Greek word angelos, which just simply means a messenger. And so, as St. Augustine says, the term itself, the name angel, refers not to their nature exactly, but to their function. They're divine messengers. What their nature is pure mind or pure intellect. And so they don't have, they have a complete and immediate understanding of all that is, unlike human beings, which are both intellect and body, and we come to understand things through our reason, so we come to understand and know things gradually. Angels have an immediate, from the moment of their existence, grasp of all that can be known, okay? So that they're, properly speaking, intelligent creatures, while we are rational creatures. All right, let's take a look once again at what the Catechism has to say about these creatures. Paragraph 329. St. Augustine says, as we just mentioned, angel is the name of their office, not of their nature. If you seek the name of their nature, it is spirit. If you seek the name of their office, it is angel. From what they are, spirit. From what they do, angel. With their whole beings, the angels are servants and messengers of God, because they always behold the face of my Father who is in heaven. They are His mighty ones who do His word, hearkening to the voice of His word. And so they are purely spiritual creatures. They are servants of God, and their office, so to speak, their function, as it were, is twofold. One is to be the servants of God. They worship God because they see God face to face. The natural response of a creature before their Creator is simply to worship. But they also, as a result of that, do God's bidding, whatever it is that God wills for them. And their bidding is, of course, to minister to the visible universe in both invisible and sometimes visible ways. All right? So purely intellectual beings, pure spirits that minister to human beings and serve God. Now, the Catechism tells us that Christ is the center of the angelic world. Okay, now that does not mean that Christ is Himself an angel, although of course we can say that Jesus Christ is God's preeminent minister, but Christ is God Himself, and so not an angel in that sense. So Christ, paragraph 331, Christ is the center of the angelic world. They are His angels. When the Son of Man comes in His glory and all the angels with Him, they belong to Him because they were created through and for Him. And so they are ministers in particular of Jesus Christ. And so when Christ comes again in His glory, He comes with His angels attending upon Him. So we say that Christ is at the center of the angelic creation. And we know from the Gospels that at important points in the life of Christ, His incarnation, His temptation, and so forth, His ascension, His resurrection, that these events always include angels as a part of the story. Okay, so that they minister to Christ, but they also help those of us who are merely human to understand the meaning of the events of Christ's life, death, resurrection, and ascension. So they minister to us in helping us to understand and to appropriate what Jesus Christ has said and done. And of course, this doesn't begin just in the New Testament. Throughout the Old Testament, the angels ministered to human beings, served as instruments of God's providence. All right, so that the angels have always had some sort of role as secondary causes in the exercise of God's providence. Now I want to talk just a bit, before we conclude this lesson, talk a little bit about angels in the life of the church, in this last section. The church, we're told, benefits from the mysterious and powerful help of angels. Paragraph 335 says that in her liturgy, the church joins with the angels to adore the thrice holy God. She invokes their assistance. Moreover, in the cherubic hymn of the Byzantine liturgy, she celebrates the memory of certain angels, more particularly like St. Michael, St. Gabriel, St. Raphael, and the guardian angels. And so, in fact, we even say, when we get to the Holy, 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 the Sanctus in the Mass, we say that what we're doing right now is to join with the chorus of angels that is always singing to God in heaven. So at that point in the liturgy, we become aware of the fact that what we are doing on earth is actually a participation in that heavenly liturgy in which all of the angels and the saints are worshiping God without end. All right? And so the church benefits from the ministry of angels, but at the same time, the church also imitates, as it were, what angels do. Namely, that we worship God, and from that worship, from that sort of taking the time to offer ourselves to God wholly, we can become God's ministers in the visible world, doing His bidding, doing His will, and bringing others hopefully closer to God. All right, so that's a sort of a brief introduction to angelic creation. We're going to talk more about visible creation in the next lesson.